meeting. So far, all the discussions was very fruitful and informative, and I hope that we will also catch this performance along with our distinguished speakers. Today, we will analyze renewable energy review in Turkey. So today, there are three esteemed speakers. They are very knowledgeable and experienced in Turkish renewable energy market. Volkan Bey, Ugur Bey, and Yasemin will give us a very broad framework about the Turkish energy market. So we will give a look to past. We will understand what the path that Turkish renewable energy industry followed so far, especially during the last 10 years. And then we will go to Ugur Bey, and we will kind of ask him to analyze the current feed-in tariff mechanism, current structure in the market, and where he sees the next growth opportunities. Last but not least, of course, we will ask expert view of Yasemin about financing renewable energy projects in Turkey. She is very, very experienced on this field with her capacity working at World Bank, and World Bank is also very supportive to boost Turkish renewable energy investments in the country. So I don't want to lose any time, and I want to return to Volkan Bey the first. Volkan Bey, may I kindly ask you to give us a broad perspective about the Turkish renewable energy market, what we have done, what fields were successful, on what fields that we were not successful enough. So we will like to listen to the past of the Turkish industry.
Thank you, Eser Bey. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to be part of this session, and greetings from snowy Istanbul. As Eser Bey mentioned that, I would like to summarize last 10 years of renewable investments in Turkey. 2020 and 2021 have been exceptional years in the history of electricity markets globally due to the impact of COVID-19, with consumption peaking and electricity prices increasing again not only in Turkey, but also across other developed and developing markets. It has also been a period during which global energy transformation has been at the top of the agenda for all stakeholders. Globally, additions of renewable power capacity are on track to set yet another annual record in 2021. Almost 290 gigawatts of new renewable power will be commissioned, which is 3% higher than 2020's already exceptional growth. When you compare 2011, 124 gigawatt installed capacity around the world, so there's a massive investment appetite to renewables. In the same period, renewable energy installed capacity in Turkey had total installed capacity in Turkey had 53 gigawatts as of 2011, but rose to 99.8 gigawatt by the end of the 2021. The share of renewable energy resources in the total installed capacity has risen since 2005. Standing at 33% in 2005, the share of power plants generating electricity from renewable energy resources, in particularly hydro, into the installed capacity rose to 53.2% by the end of 2021. Turkey's installed capacity in renewable energy shows an upward trend in year. While hydros had a share of 87% within the installed capacity of renewable energy resources in 2013, this share decreased over the years, especially due to the increase in wind and solar. However, hydro have the largest share in the installed capacity of renewable energy source by 60% as of end of 2021. With a rapid increase in the investments for unlicensed power plants in recent years, the share of wind and solar in the installed capacity of renewable energy sources are 90% and 14% respectively. The share that is installed capacity of 1,000, also there is additional another market share with the auctions based on installed capacity more than 1,000 megawatt last 5 years. The first auction held in 2017 consists of establishing a photovoltaic solar module manufacturing facility, establishing a research and development center, and constructing and operating a solar power plant with an installed capacity of 1,000 megawatt. The second auction, held in August 2017, consists of establishing a wind turbine manufacturing facility, establishing a research and development center, and constructing and operating wind power plants with a total installed capacity of 1,000 megawatts. The third auction, held in May 2019, consists of constructing and operating wind power plants with a total installed capacity of 1,000 megawatts. The large size of such projects created a bottleneck in the sector, which prevented small and middle-sized companies from participating in such tenders, as only giant conglomerates were able to undertake such scope. To increase the number of participants and the competition in the market, the Ministry of Energy decided to tender this project in pieces with smaller installed capacities. Accordingly, the new renewable energy zone tender for solar power was organized in March 2021. This time, instead of single tender for the construction and operation of entire 1,000 megawatts, the Ministry of Energy organized 74 tenders in different capacities corresponding to 10, 15, 20 megawatts in 36 different provinces in Turkey. For each tender, the purchase period is determined as 15 years as of the signing date of the contract. Following the review of the applications, qualified companies will be invited to reverse auction phase in 2021, and this tender still continuing this year as well. Turkey has abundant sunshine and wind, so it makes sense to look to these natural resources when building power capacity for a growing economy. Along with the wind, solar, and geothermal, Turkey also boasts significant existing hydroelectric generation capacity. Hydro plants already generate over one-third of Turkey's electricity. One major economic benefit of the switch to renewable comes in terms of employment. Building power generation capacity through renewables creates more jobs than creating the same capacity through fossil fuel generation. It is estimated that meeting Turkey's 2023 renewable targets will result in up to 545,000 new jobs in the energy sector. As well as boosting jobs, switching to renewables can make countries energy independent. As a net importer of energy, over half of Turkey's balance of payment deficit relates to energy imports. The economic benefits to becoming more self-sufficient in Turkey's target by increasing domestic production, Turkey reduces its exposure to currency fluctuations and volatile oil and gas prices. Given the political, economic, and environmental benefits of renewables, it seems to be clear that the renewable energy sector is set for significant growth in the years ahead. As green technologies develop, political support grows, costs come down, and consumer concerns increases, investments in renewable energy now makes both economic and environmental sense. Thank you for listening, Eser. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Volkan, for your very detailed presentation about the past of our industry. I'm sure that our audience will come back to us with many questions, but before receiving their question, I want to complete the first round. And in this regard, I want to give the floor to Ugur Bey. Ugur Bey will give us his insights about the current feed-in tariff mechanisms. As we all know that the ministry recently changed the feed-in tariff mechanism from foreign currency to Turkish lira. There are some discussions still ongoing between the decision makers and the industry players. So Ugur Bey, can you give your perspective about especially in change of this currency structure, as well as in the future where you see the next growth opportunities in Turkish renewable energy industry, especially for the wind industry?
Eser, thank you very much for the question, and Emine, thanks for the opportunity to let us speak in this very good organization. While Volkan Bey explaining the past of our renewable sector, I was just thinking about the tenders that we have participated, the challenges that we have seen so far, and that was felt me like I'm in a movie. Well, I would like to share some of our experience within these 12 years, let me say. I've been in the industry for the 12 years, and I have seen all the tenders in the wind and solar sector. The thing was, the past experiences were much more easy compared to the challenges right now we have in the sector, because in all those, or majority of those tenders, we had the feed-in tariff there, a hard currency feed-in tariff, which is in dollars. And we were competing our bids with some contribution fees. Either they were in Turkish lira, or then it changed to some megawatt basis, then to megawatt hour basis. Then finally we switched to the merchant market pricing in 2017. Then with the ECA structures, we switched back to the dollar-based PPAs. And again, we have contributed to build new domestic production lines. Each tender was different than the previous one. Each mechanism was really different. And in each one, what we were saying is it was really difficult to build those projects with these high contribution fees. In the place where we come, we have seen that the YEKDEM mechanism, the feed-in tariff mechanism that we had is the best mechanism. All the capacity that we have, or 95% of the capacity that we have built in Turkey is right now being supported by the feed-in tariff mechanism, and that was the successful mechanism. The mechanism that we tried in 2017, merchant pricing minus dollar-based contribution fee, was the most challenging one. And till the past 3 months, almost everybody was saying that those projects will not be built. But in the time that we come right now, those projects became one of the best projects in the market. Because unfortunately, the structure that we changed, the YEKA PPA from dollar-based to the Turkish lira-based with an inflation, unfortunately, that seems like the most challenging mechanism at the moment. That's challenging because almost all of the investment is in hard currency. And almost 80% of the OPEX is in hard currency or somehow linked to hard currency, but the revenue is in Turkish lira. Well, we can accept that the merchant pricing is also linked to the hard currency because the majority of the cost in the Turkish EPH market is based with natural gas and oil prices. Therefore, the reason why we have seen in the merchant pricing for the past 4 or 5 months increase is the increase in the oil pricing and also the natural gas pricing. Therefore, we can say the revenues are also linked with hard currencies. But in reality, in order to convince the investors and also banks, it's not easy. Because when we are in a comfortable zone with a dollar-based PPA mechanism and switching it to a fluctuating electricity market, that's creating uncertainties. And those uncertainties are the ones that investor doesn't really willing to have. Well, the Russian and Ukraine conflict or war, let's say, has been creating some tailwinds for the renewable market. Right now, EU, Turkey, and also the corresponding countries around are definitely understanding that without having an energy supply security, you're not going to be having the independence for your country. Therefore, although there are many tragedies in Ukraine, we hope that those war should be ending immediately. But on the other hand, that's a very important lesson for everybody. 2 days ago, European Commission published its plan called Repower EU. With this plan, the Commission now calls to make Europe independent of Russian fossil fuels before the end of this decade, in view of the current geopolitical context. And the document also contains measures to respond to the rising energy prices in Europe. This is a very detailed document, but overall, the solution is diversifying gas supplies via more LNG from US, Egypt, Qatar, and West Africa, and also doubling the EU production of biomethane by 2030 to 35 BCM, and also launching a hydrogen accelerator that will deliver additional 15 million tons of renewable hydrogen by 2030. In terms of speeding up the deployment of wind, solar, and heat pumps, there is a plan to add additional 30 gigawatt by 2030 in the European Union. That will make a total of 480 gigawatt of wind by the end of this decade. And also, the financing of this additional 30 gigawatt is important, and therefore the EU will support the wind energy supply chain through financing and funds. On the other hand, we have been developing projects for a long time, and those projects takes really long time. Together with Volkan Bey, actually, close to Vize Kırklareli, we have developed 2 wind farms next to each other. Our wind farm was Evrencik, and theirs was Vize Karayalap 2. And we had almost the same challenges. First radar, then military, then forestry. And all those challenges are really simple challenges at the moment when we consider the actual financing of the projects. Financing of the projects takes, not financing, but sorry, development of the projects takes almost 4, 5, even 6, 7 years, depending on the development risk of the project. So in order to have more independence, it is important to accelerate the development time. And in order to accelerate the development time, EU is also working on a program to speed up the permitting. So they are right now considering a plan like the YEKA first, Karapınar YEKA application. So they are going to be offering some areas for YEKA development that will be speeding up the permitting process. On the other hand, EU is also planning to doubling their yearly development pace for the heat pumps. And also for solar PV, there is a plan, but not announced yet. They are planning to announce that plan in June. So EU has made some commitments, and they are trying to gain more independence of their energy supply security. And in that regards, Turkey should be doing the same as well. In order to have that independence, I believe we need to be working with the lawmakers, because right now the issue in the market is there is not enough capacity to be developed, built, and operated. So the projects that is developed under feed-in tariff, majority of them has already been commissioned. Recently, EPDK has announced 2.8 gigawatt of capacity, where this capacity, majority of this capacity is going for hybrid applications, mainly wind and solar, let's say. Then also some capacity expansions, electrical capacity expansions, and also including some unlicensed capacity expansion. So 2.8 gigawatt is a very good number. But again, we have to speed up the permitting process for those additional capacities as well. On the other hand, we have new YEKA applications in April and May. In April, we will have the solar, and in May, we will have wind. Thing is, the 2 gigawatt of YEKA, potential YEKA wind capacity has decreased to 850 megawatts. So the capacity remaining is actually deployed for this 2.8 gigawatt of EPDK announcement. Therefore, the idea over is that if an existing wind power plant adds additional electrical capacity or hybrid capacity, that's going to be faster. We can understand that. But on the other hand, 2.8 is not enough. We just need more capacity in order to have our energy supply security. As a sector, what we need for the new revenue mechanism is not an incentive. So the only thing we need is to remove the uncertainties. And the main uncertainty at the moment for the sector is revenue mechanism. The existing YEKA structure with the Turkish lira-based revenues increased with CPI, PPI, and also hard currency doesn't really help remove the uncertainties. For us, the best solution was the tender types that has been organized in 2017 and 19, that we have 10-year or 11-year, depending on the projects, dollar-based PPAs, YEKA PPAs. And also having local production is also good, because when we consider the economical perspective, Turkey is trying to increase its FDIs, and supporting FDI with YEKA mechanism is a good strategy. But so far, YEKA Solar First has been realized. The rest of the YEKA developments are coming a little bit slowly. Therefore, we just need to return the system back to a hard currency-based revenue mechanisms. And on the other hand, it is important to have the continuity of the market. If we have some capacity, announce then stop for 2-3 years, that's also killing the sector. That's a very difficult problem, because either you are an investor or a developer or a manufacturer, you want to see a solid pipeline. And if that solid pipeline is not there, it's difficult to make the investment decision. Therefore, 3 things are most important: revenue mechanism, supplying of new capacity, and supplying of that new capacity continuously. During the tenders, what we have seen is, as the capacities that we have been participated in the tenders are the only capacities at that time, investors, developers are really becoming aggressive doing tenders in order to get the available capacity. And the reason for that is, in each tender mechanism, we have seen it's getting much more challenging. So the first one back in 2011 and 15 were the best ones, and through time, it's getting more challenging and challenging. And considering this is known by everybody, so each tender is an opportunity better than the future ones. Therefore, we have seen that investors were becoming aggressive as the supply of new capacity was not there. Therefore, in order to wrap up, this time I would say we just need to change the revenue mechanism. We need to create the supply of new capacity consistently, so that investors end up their bids with more reasonable assumptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ugur. A very quick question just before going to Yasemin. As you said that every new mechanism is getting worse than before, actually, if we look at the timeline. So what is the reason? From my perspective, I see that more and more investors are coming to the market. As you said, that they are acting more eager. On the other hand, the costs are decreasing in the international market. So probably from this point, the Turkish decision makers are pushing a little bit on the industry, but they may not understand, or they may not empathy to investor on the other hand. So what are the major motivations when you discuss with the decision makers? What are their motivation?
Well, this was a very good question, and we have been discussing with the decision makers through RES or through the NGOs in the market. And what we have seen is there are some misperceptions that investors are making huge amount of profit margins over those projects. Mm-hmm. In reality, in an incentivized market, that might be true. That's why incentives makes any project or any sector inefficient. So having the market conditions helps the efficiency, having the incentives set up the market. But in that regards, the perception of our decision makers are investors in energy have made huge profits, and that profits are a disadvantage for public. I can understand this concept, this view, and they might be right. And the reason why this system has launched is the incentives were announced by law. So the flexibility of changing the system was not there. With YECA, I believe the overall aim was good. We still have a hard currency-based PPA. There was a competitive environment, and the issue was maybe the investors went too much of an aggressive on those standards. Why we have some delays in those YECA projects. In order to not have those too much of competitive bids, the investors should see the supply of the capacity. If the supply of the capacity were there, we wouldn't be seeing those very aggressive prices. And I believe the tendered capacity should be realized much more faster.
Okay, that's great. Well, I have some more questions, but actually I don't want to make Yasemin wait more. And we will have another like 20-25 minutes to discuss further the details about the market. So right as the third speaker, I want to return to Yasemin Hanım. Yasemin Hanım is a very experienced professional in the financing of renewable energy projects. And actually in Turkey, we know that the World Bank has been the pioneer of the geothermal projects by their revolving funds in order to decrease the exploration costs and exploration risks, actually, which is considered among the major risks of the geothermal power plant developments. And we also know that the World Bank is also preparing a roadmap for wind energy potential, for offshore wind energy potential of the Turkey, which is also a very interesting point for the investors, especially big investors, to the Turkish market. So I want to get insights of Yasemin Hanım on these issues. Yasemin Hanım, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eser Bey. I think this is a very exciting event. I've been listening some of the previous speakers, all reflecting their own experience and views on what's going around. I think now the world is in a crisis mode in terms of climate change, in terms of energy, in terms of environmental degradation, and also there are ongoing active wars everywhere, maybe in some places, but also in Europe as well, with the Ukraine war happening recently. And I think all these crises are really very difficult to adapt to, but it's also very challenging. That's also providing some opportunities for renewable energy, especially in meeting net zero targets of the countries. When we have so high oil prices and gas prices, fossil fuel prices basically, and generation from them becomes very expensive with recent developments, I think the role of renewables has increased very much, and the potential, economic potential, has increased also very much. I think what we need is accelerated deployment of renewables combined with electrification and very deep electrification, and increased energy efficiency will be needed to meet these targets for decarbonization, especially in the next 3 decades. So I think the sectors globally and in Turkey should be really prepared for such significant growth in renewable and energy efficiency markets. Actually, this is very much important to effectively manage large-scale renewable energy sources penetration, and flexibility must be integrated in all sectors of the energy system, from power generation to transmission, distribution, storage, and even in increasingly making sure flexible demand management systems are there. So the picture is shifting and changing towards a very upgraded picture. How to be prepared for that requires a lot of also preparation in supply chains, in financing availability, especially many countries, especially developing countries will need a lot of financing. And this financing needs to be long-term and in good conditions, and in some cases, of course, very, very, very concessional to make several projects actually happen. As part of our work in Turkey, I think we have over 3 billion of active portfolio in Turkey's energy sector. A few areas we are working on energy efficiency and renewable energy include geothermal, in addition to some solar project under preparation, but also looking at energy efficiency investments in public sector and also in industry. And we are also working on renewable energy integration projects to prepare the systems for high penetration for renewables. As you might have already heard, World Bank has an offshore wind program for developing countries, and in several countries right now we are preparing offshore wind roadmaps and advising governments on the technical potential, as well as what needs to be done, what will be the advantages and what will be the risks in taking on this technology, and also providing some capacity building in the governments. The good news is offshore wind is happening. It's not a future technology anymore. Only last year there was 16 gigawatts of global offshore wind addition in the system, with 53 new projects, which is very exciting. You know, new areas developed, and people working in the area would know preparation of the site, de-risking the sector takes a lot of time, and also engineering, I would say. Overall, the global capacity reached 50 gigawatts, and IEA expects this capacity to reach about 120 gigawatts in 4 years. And also, as many speakers already mentioned, the costs for renewable technologies are going down very, very rapidly. I think average price is now well below $60 per megawatt hours right now. And Turkey, seeing that, of course, potential, had an auction in 2018, but we understand the sites were very risky for new investors. So Turkey wanted to work further in de-risking the offshore wind areas, and to realize its potential of 75 gigawatts. This is again a very huge potential. We will do the launch of the offshore wind roadmap for Turkey in May, I would assume, the latest. And this will include 2 scenarios where actually most of these years going to be for demonstration projects. But after 2030, we assume there will be a fully industrialized sector supporting, high export capacities, including floating offshore wind components, as Turkey's potential is mostly on floating. And maybe if I can go to the technical findings of the roadmap briefly, just to give an idea of the situation, it will be important to say Turkey's offshore wind speeds are moderate to low compared to standards, and best sources are in the Aegean region, as you might imagine, but also parts of the Marmara. Mediterranean coast has very little actually adequate wind speed, so it's with today's technology out of the evaluation. Secondly, when we combine data sets on wind speed, environmental, social constraints, it becomes very clear that the suitable areas for offshore wind farms in Turkey will be very much limited. One of our experts mentioned that Turkey was too beautiful to do so many projects. And I also have this similar feeling in Turkey. If we are going to increase renewable very considerably, I think environmental social concerns will be the major thing. I think it will be more important than getting the necessary financing, getting the necessary policy environment for suitable for investments. So this is one of the areas that I want to highlight today, also when I speak about our geothermal project. Thirdly, when we look at the locational potential identified, we see still there should be a good 50 gigawatts of potential in Turkey. We will give details and also the scenarios when we have the report launch. But I said before, most of this will be floating offshore wind. For financial and economic aspects, of course, it's very important that concessional finance will be very important in facilitating the first few offshore wind projects in Turkey, as in any other country we are working in. The high cost of capital and the high risk profile of offshore wind development calls for access to very cheap loans, and of course the risking tools that concessional finance can bring in. So this will be very important. This, if we can't achieve that, I think there will the expansion of offshore wind could be very very slow and maybe stay behind the global averages. One of the things that we are focusing on in every country is development of a local supply chain. This is important for offshore wind, but also for every other renewable energy if we are going to meet 2050 net zero targets. These are all will be very huge issues in 10 years time, I guess, when you have so much demand for renewable energy projects, and if you don't have a strong supply chain, well-developed supply chain, then I think you might be in trouble meeting your targets as countries. Of course, we always say there must be very clear political commitment. Previous speakers already mentioned there's difficulties they are facing. On our side, most difficult part, I think, is really making sure these investments are actually say in terms of safeguards, environmental and social safeguards are sustainable. Of course, we are looking at financial sustainability as well, but that will be the first thing. When we look at the geothermal sector, to meet the 250 targets, geothermal should have a larger role globally. Turkey has come a long road, but still has a long road ahead as well. Last year additions was about 500 megawatts, very limited, and these were all in developing countries, including Turkey, Indonesia, and Kenya, leading the investments. So this is really lacking behind. And this is an area where World Bank is supporting geothermal investments. I think to date over 2.5 billion funding was available for developing countries in 30 years. And again, for Turkey, I think for a sustainable geothermal future, social benefits plus acceptability in local communities will be the key two aspects to be treated carefully in project development phase, because when you lose this point, when local people may have suspicions over geothermal investment, and this is a risk the sector is facing. And we have experienced that the projects that advance without proper stakeholder consultation undermines community trust in geothermal projects. This is happening many of the projects. That is why in Turkey, social acceptance of these geothermal projects vary case by case. So it's really important to discuss with local people at the project start, at the planning stage, and also this is important element to get international financing as well. I think we have over 63 power plants for geothermal in Turkey. As part of World Bank financing, which is online since 2017, and also actually the first geothermal financing happened in 2005, long ago, and overall our support has been extended to a capacity about 465 megawatts. This is very good amount, approximately 1/3 of the existing capacity in Turkey, and we wanted to actually support some developers with dealing with exploratory risks, especially after they acquire the licensing rights areas. And when you look at the situation, you see commercial debt is not available for exploration activities and mostly not available for capacity drilling when you reach to project development stage. So with our financing, we have tried to deal with both. We have established a risk-sharing mechanism with CTF funds of 40 million, and this is supporting especially small developers to drill wells, exploration wells, and also we share their risk. We call it RSM, and with RSM we had 2 rounds as World Bank, and this is as the project is implemented by TSKB and TKYB. They have been involved in actually discussing with the sectors very much on their risk perceptions, but also on their experiences in the field, so which we are actually integrating back into our project design. Under the risk-sharing mechanism, first phase, we had 3 wells drilled, all in central Anatolia. It was very good to have one project outside Aegean region, and it's very high temperature, but it was still a failure because it didn't fit the business plan announced. So for the second round, I think we had 13 projects found eligible, and these projects will be supported by again this Turkey geothermal development project to do their exploratory drilling. The project's second component is looking at providing finance to geothermal investments, especially at the power plant stage, but also direct use applications. Overall, we have mobilized over 550 million of USD of loans to the sector since 2016, and the sector is now has used most of it, at least over half of it, with 7 projects, and there are some future projects we hope that will be coming. The new feed-in tariff, of course, had some impacts. Economic situation has some impacts on the sector, but I truly think in the middle and long term, these investments will become very profitable, given the need for renewable energy in the future. I think this is enough for the first round. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yasemin Hanım. Well, I think for the first round, the session has been very informative so far. But I have many questions. Of course, I will cherry pick most of them. Since we gave a quite long break to Volkan Bey, I think we can ask the first question to Volkan Bey at this session and in the second round. Well, Volkan Bey, when we were summarizing the cost of the Turkish renewable energy investments, you perfectly pointed out that our government has changed the tendering structure in the last rounds to smaller projects with giving allowance to participation of many players. But before, actually, our government launched two big tenders, one in solar, one in the wind, which were 1,000 megawatts, especially, and which was bringing very serious requirements for the localization of the production components. So can you compare a little bit of these two structures? What were the up and downs of this two perspective? Why government changed the mindset? What are the lessons learned from these projects? Can you share your insights?
Sure. Thank you, Eser Bey. Also, Ugur Bey mentioned that because of the changing the tenders, main reason is 1,000 megawatts is a huge, massive project, and it takes too long time. Then you focus on an area with 1,000 megawatts. So if you are going to distribute cities, then you have small projects and easy to build and easy to run very rapidly. That's the main reason. And also, as I mentioned, that there is some constraints about making such a big project. Also, first one, as you know, Kalyon took with the Hanwha from South Korea, but South Korea company Hanwha quit the tenders. Then Kalyon alone and try to find another company to invest together. So it takes almost 5 years. So if already a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Energy, split small project, maybe we already have more than 2,000-3,000 megawatts wind and also solar projects already up and run.
So do you think that the change structure is better than the previous one?
Yes, I think better than. But also Ugur Bey said that Ministry of Energy change everything and all new tenders, another new, first 50 days movie for us. Everything change, every single piece change, and we try to focus how we can bid for such a tender as well.
Okay, that's another criticism actually.
One more additional for Yasemin for the geothermal, if you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
So also I am Secretary General of the Geothermal Investor Association in Turkey. As you know, Turkey, the fourth biggest geothermal power plant investor around the world. And after the new tariff, we don't have any new central power plant in the pipeline. So we already, installed 1,638 megawatt power with 68 power plants. But after 2022, we don't have any pipeline. So another problem for the sector to invest geothermal. Thanks for World Bank's support. Also, they support one of our projects in the Çanakkale region. But we are not going to have any new geothermal power plant with that price tag. That I would like to bring this side. Thank you.
Okay, so I will ask a couple of more questions, and I am planning to leave at least a minute and a half for each of you to share your final remarks with our participants. So I want to return to Ugur Bey. Ugur Bey underscored very strongly that the capacity should be announced for the new pipelines, for the new projects to bring into the pipeline. Again, thinking from maybe transmission system operator perspective, In Turkey, actually, we have experienced physical supply security problem, both in gas and electricity, not only in the winter time, in the summertime as well. We have seen this problems. And when we talk to Minister of Energy or other key decision makers, they're also saying that when they see very rapid penetration of renewables, it's becoming more and more difficult for them to keep the balance of the system on the other hand. And there is no CCGT project in the pipeline right now in the Turkey as well. Okay, on one hand, we need the capacity. On the other hand, we have some system problems. How do you see this equilibrium, Ugur?
Unfortunately, that's the problem of Turkey. We are not in the middle of a very strong grid network. Consider Germany. They are really lucky. They are in the middle of EU with all those nuclear power plants, CCGT. So they are lucky. That's our problem at the moment. And that's understandable. But considering the previous year issues, I don't really recall the problem of a grid that is triggered by the renewables. I remember one blackout, mainly regarding the production of the hydros in the Black Sea region, together with some operational issues of the grid. But so far, it wasn't the case. And on the other hand, for the future tenders, I don't really think any renewable energy tender in Turkey will be above the merchant price market. So whatever we do, in any case, the levelized cost of energy in renewables, let's say wind and hydro, I'm not really expert in geothermal, so I'm just excluding that one, will be below merchant market pricing. So at that point, although the storage technologies today expensive, we are seeing also rapid decreases in the storage market. So in the upcoming years, there will be some grid stability problems. I believe with the technology being improved, with the LCO of the storage projects being reduced, at that time, those can be the solution for the stability of the grid. Deployment of the storage systems are really fast. You just need some small land. It's not like a wind or solar project. You can easily collect all the permitting and can install them in 2 to 3 years. It's not like 5, 6, 7 years of development periods for wind and solar. Therefore, when the time comes, storage should be the solution of the grid stability problem.
Yes, that's right. Actually, EMRA is also supporting storage installments in the country with the regulations. So this is clear. But that when we have more storage in the system, it's going to be more stability in the grid as well. My last question to Yasemin, and then I will give floor to each speaker. But Yasemin, I think the offshore wind potential will take lots of attention, not only from Turkish investors, also foreign investors as well. I do remember when EMRA and Ministry announced like the capacities, available capacities 3-4 years ago, there were lots of interest from the international investors. Well, we also know that the current Turkish lira-based feed-in tariff mechanism not supportive and not incentivize the investors. Will you offer any financial tariff mechanism to decision makers in your roadmap?
Absolutely, Eser Bey. I think we have well identified the situation in Turkey. These are forex-based, long-term financing is in forex-based, so we are well aware of the situation, and we have a whole chapter on that, and also recommendations to discuss with the government. It will be a political decision, of course, but we will see. I think the aim of the government is to have offshore wind power plants, basically because this is a very good new technology, but also very close to consumption centers like Istanbul, like Western Turkey. This is very much the same because the population is dense in coastal zones everywhere globally. So there is the intention, and we have already done several assessments that we will discuss further with the government as well.
Thank you very much, Yasemin. Yasemin, I think this is a very good insight and very beneficial insight for all. We have 5 minutes for hard stop, so I want to give another 1 minute each to summarize your final remarks. So, Volkan, maybe we can start with you if you have final remarks.
Thank you, Eser. Also, in addition, I would like to raise another issue. Hybrid power plants is a crucial point of the upcoming years, and EMRA has not, give us sufficient hybrid power plant license. Also, we already, submit our request, but just 15% of the license power you can get it. So it should be, or it's necessary to increase minimum 50% or something to, rapidly we can, start to additional electricity production and improve our, independency. Thank you so much for time and floor, Eser. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Volkan Bey. Ugur Bey?
Well, I will repeat myself. We don't need any incentive. We just need a basic system that works. And that basic system works as hard currency-based revenue mechanism, 10-year, 15-year PPA. In any case, the prices will be below merchant pricing. So we will still keep the public interest. We will still keep the energy supply security, and we will be increasing foreign direct investments to our country. Therefore, we just need some simple touch-ups, and then I believe, even though we try to make things worse, we will not be able to do it, because the future is with the renewables, and whatever we do wrong, in any case, we will come up and increase more and more capacity in this sector. So for a final suggestion, any high school kid willing for participating to universities should definitely think for renewable energy classes, because the future is ours.
Very clear cut. Thank you very much, Ugur Bey. So, Yasemin, last floor is yours.
Well, maybe 2 points as energy transition needs to happen. And given the changes in the world, I think it's very important to have distributed energy generation in Turkey, especially for critical infrastructure, but also households. We expect, there are many reasons to justify this, but of course we expect several climate impacts as well, several maybe market issues in the future. So best way to respond to these will be distributed generation, and one of the very good options is of course solar rooftop projects. We understand any applicant gets a consumer loan of 2 to 3 years max to finance their solar PVs on their roofs, and we have initiated a discussion with the government on solar mortgage, providing 10 to 12 years long-term financing to such investments. This is very much important for the housing sector, residential sector, but also SME sector and large industry sector, and also in meeting, of course, the carbon border tax adjustment mechanism for some of the companies by greening their electricity. This is one thing. Secondly, for the feed-in tariff, especially for geothermal, that was our position. Geothermal should have a feed-in tariff at a reasonable level. This is a very risky area of investment. That is why we will have a workshop in June 2022, where we will discuss issues in geothermal markets, market issues particularly, but also feed-in tariff, and hopefully we'll have a good facilitation role there, bringing in several actors together. And with that, I think I can close my remarks here. Thank you very much.
Great. Actually, very informative session. I learned a lot. Thank you very much for all of you sharing this very valuable and generous insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us today. It was a great panel discussion. Thank you again.
Herkese iyi günler diliyorum. Hoşça kalın.